Welcome back to One on One, and I hope you're leaving your comments on our pages at Metro TV Ghana and at One on One page on Twitter and Facebook. I still have football analyst and also the president of Hemp Association of Ghana. Our conversation is on the, some call it the magical miracle drug that unfortunately we are so against because of colonialist and its history that is grounded in racism. Nana, welcome back. I want to know what Hemp Association does. What does Hemp Association really does?
Okay, it's in fact it's the Hempire Association of Ghana.
Hempire Association of Ghana.
Yeah.
Yes.
We want to build a hempire.
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 Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And there was a funny story of how we got that name actually,
right.
because
Go ahead, tell me.
It was going to be the Hemp Association of Ghana. We went down to RGD, submitted our application for months. They couldn't tell us anything. The
Registrar General's Department.
Yeah, they couldn't tell us anything. I went down there fuming one day, and then they said, look, you can't use the word hemp because the word hemp is illegal. I said, have you heard of Hemel Hempstead? It's a place in the United Kingdom, and there's also places in the USA that are called hemp. So it's a word. How can it be illegal?
Legal.
But no matter what I said,
they wouldn't budge.
They wouldn't budge. So I called my deputy CEO at the time, who's actually the father of that boy at GIS, Ras Aswad and Krabio,
okay.
In Krabia. And he said, look, just add ire to it.
Ire. And ire is not even like a good word. I mean, it's like ire.
Yeah,
my.
He said, just add that,
Ire.
then it'll read Hempire.
Ire. Ooh.
So I did. And what I did, I wrote it on a piece of paper, and I opened the door to the lawyer's office who I'd been bantering with. I was so furious, I wanted to tip everything upside down, and I just threw it in there and left. And a week or two after, it was registered. Anyway, it's an NGO, it's an advocacy body. It's the body that really talks about what I've been talking about, differentiating, making clear the differences between the two strains or the three strains, because I told you about indica, sativa, ruderalis.
Right.
And basically we work with other civil society organizations to bring about a friendly pressure to parliamentarians, the Ministry of Defence and Interior, and all other formal bodies that are there, so that we can try to enlighten them about cannabis. And basically we worked with the Parliamentary Select Committee of Defence and Interior. We worked with other civil society organisations, Drug Policy Advocacy Unit and other prominent CSOs, because there are quite a lot of CSOs out there, but they don't make as much noise as we do. But they are out there working behind the scenes. And eventually, we got that Section 43 drafted. And it was an amendment that was placed in the bill. And eventually, in 2020, the bill was passed. And in May 2020, the President also assented to the bill. So that body is there. It's a non-governmental organization. But we also have the Hempire Agric Ghana Limited.
Agric
Ghana Limited.
Right.
Which, as it says, is a limited company. Now, what we do there is we have ridden on the back of the advocacy, and we're now talking about the business. And we're putting the business out in the open so that farmers who currently cultivate illegally can switch across from illegal cultivation to legal cultivation. Illegal cultivation of cannabis with the THC for recreational use.
To industrial.
Yes. Now, what we've done, we've given them 4 options. We've said, come to Hempire Agric Ghana, we'll give you 4 options. First option, register with us, 10,000 Ghana cedis. We will ensure that you've got all your appropriate identification documents ready. We'll register your company. We'll assist you with opening a bank account. We'll provide you with an off-takers agreement, and we'll prepare your business plan for you. Because you can't just write a letter to the Narcotics Control Commission and say, oh, I'd like a license. There's a criteria. And by and large, you must have all these things in a row. Now, what we say to you, because we have a land bank earmarked of 39,000 acres, that's the length and breadth of Ghana. We say to you, when you register with us for 10,000 Ghana cedis, you'll be working on a land space of 35 acres. You will cultivate and harvest 25,000 kilos, and we will pay you $500,000 for that.
Wow.
And you will harvest 3 times a year. The second option is you will register 15,000. You'll work on a larger land space of up to 60, 65 acres.
Acres.
Yes, you'll provide 50,000 kilos of hemp. You'll be paid $1 million for that. You'll harvest 3 times a year. Third option, you register with us, you pay us 20,000 Ghana cedis. You'll work on a land space of 90 acres. You'll harvest 75 acres. We'll pay, 75 kilos. We will pay $1.5 million. Once again, you harvest 3 times a year. The last option is you register with us, you pay 25,000 Ghana cedis. You work on a land space of up to 130 acres. You will provide 100,000 kilos. You'll get paid 2.4 kilos for that. So we provide a service, 2.4 million.
Right.
We provide a service ensuring that you get all your administrational paperwork correct in a row.
And you will not be heckled by anybody.
No, so that you can now apply. We can't give you any licenses because we don't have the power to give you the license. We ourselves will also apply for licenses. We will give you access to the land bank, of which you will pay 100 Ghana cedis per acre per year for 3 years on a rolling contract. We will provide you with certified seeds that are 0.3% in THC.
Right.
We will train you accordingly because many won't know how to cultivate the hemp differently to cultivating cannabis for recreational use. And we will supervise you because we have a vested interest in you producing your yield, because when you produce your yield, the company will also make money. Right? So those are the 4 options we've given, and to date we have probably over 150 farmer groups that are registered with us.
Wow.
They are quietly sitting there waiting to take advantage of the law so that they can start to cultivate.
Wow. No, I'm interested in what you just said and the breakdown of it, because I would want you to go over it again. So the least is 10,000 cedis for the registration.
Yeah.
Allows you for 39 acres.
35 acres.
35 acres. And you harvest 3 times?
You harvest 3 times.
$500,000.
$500,000
right.
because you'll cultivate 25,000 kilos.
Yeah.
The second option, you register 15,000 Ghana cedis. You work on a land space of up to 60 or 65 acres. You'll harvest 50,000 kilos. We'll pay $1 million for that. The third option, you register 20,000 Ghana cedis. You're working on a land space of up to 90 acres. You'll harvest 75,000 kilos. We'll pay $1.5 million for that. The last option is you'll pay a registration fee of 25,000 Ghana cedis. You work on a land space of up to 130. You provide 100,000 kilos. We'll pay 2.4.
Okay.
Now, we deliberately give you more acreage than you actually need, because 1 acre you can cultivate 1,000 kilos. So if we give you 35 acres, you will only use 25 acres to cultivate and harvest 25,000.
25, okay.
Now, what we say to you is in your final year of the contract, at that time you should know how you are going to add value to what you cultivate. We don't want to follow the cocoa model, where basically you've got cocoa farmers,
from them
you're just exporting.
Yeah.
They've never tasted chocolate.
Right, I get you.
Their kids don't go to top class school. because when they provide 100,000 kilos of beans,
Somebody
they only
goes,
get $2,500. It's the biggest rip-off known to man. They don't add any value to it.
Yeah.
They don't make any chocolates or anything. They just give the raw produce away. So we say it will take you 2 years, no matter which option you take, to accumulate significant enough cash and to determine now how you wish to add value. With the additional land space, you can put up some factory or whatever it is, if you want to produce CBD oil, if you want to produce hempcrete, if you want to produce bioplastics, if you want to produce briquet, if you want to produce wood, if you want to go in the textile industry, if you want to produce cosmetics, if you want to produce animal feed, if you want to produce protein for us as human beings, you have additional land space in which you can do that and expand your business. And we say we will only take one harvest from you so that you will use the other two, processing and producing and putting whatever it is you're manufacturing now on the market.
Okay.
Because you will earn much more by adding value than just simply cultivating, harvesting and exporting.
And Nana, when you say that you have 100 farm groups waiting, you mean waiting on the narcotics control?
Waiting on the law.
Oh.
Waiting on the, because the law was passed 2 years ago, then we were waiting on the legislative instrument. Now, the legislative instrument is a document that operationalizes the law.
Absolutely.
For example, we don't know how much the license fee would cost. Yeah, there are things in the legislative instrument that would tell you how the Narcotics Control Commission would come to regulate and ensure that you are actually cultivating industrial hemp. They would have to come and take samples, they would test it to make sure it's 0.3, they'd have to come onto your farm to ensure that you're not cultivating cannabis for recreational use, and a whole host of things. Now,
but do you envisage that challenge that happening?
It can't happen, and I'm going to tell you why it can't happen. The reason why you cannot cultivate hemp and cannabis at the same time is because industrial hemp is a male plant. The cannabis is a female plant. We all know what happens when male and females come together, don't they? They produce something wonderful.
Right.
Now, basically, the industrial hemp plant will cross-pollinate the cannabis plant for recreational use and render it 100% useless. Instead of producing the buds that you would process and dry, that people could smoke, you'd put in your toffees, put in your cakes or whatever, it will now only produce seed. So you can't cultivate cannabis for industrial...
You can't cheat nature.
You can't. you
you
just can't do it.
Right.
And it's worse than that. The fact of the matter is, you cannot cultivate cannabis for recreational use within a 50-mile radius of anyone who is cultivating industrial hemp.
Why? How?
Because it will cross-pollinate.
Ooh, again, yeah.
It will cross-pollinate. Within a 50-mile radius, it will cross-pollinate. So I always say to the Narcotics Control Commission and to the Ministry of Defense and Industry that this will be a classic way of ensuring we reduce illegal cultivation. Because once we start cultivating industrial hemp, if they should attempt and they're within a 50-mile radius, their crop is going to be spoilt. The only thing they can do...
And you would lose. I mean, I think the farmer would lose. Because if you try to do that,
they would lose.
Yeah.
So the only thing they could now do is cultivate cannabis for recreational use indoors. They couldn't cultivate outside again. Now, to cultivate indoors, you need huge greenhouses. You're talking hydroponics and all that kind of stuff. Lot of investment. A lot of money is required there. How many farmers would actually be able to do that? You see? So they want to clamp down on the cultivation of cannabis for recreational use.
Purpose, yeah.
and people are fighting against the law. But in fact, if the law comes out positively and all the other things, everything is all equal. In fact, the cultivation of industrial hemp is the beginning of eradicating illegal cultivation of cannabis for recreational use.
And earlier I asked the question, before the break, that what has been the biggest challenge? Is the church the biggest challenge? How do we break it so we can have the conversation about it?
Well, I think it's hypocrisy, isn't it? I mean, the people who go to church, they're smoking it. They should know. They are smoking it. They are part of the reason why Ghana is ranked number 3 on the continent for cannabis use. They're part of the reason, right? But yes, they are a powerful group of people. They form possibly 80% of the electorate. So they're scary when it comes to politicians, because politicians need their vote, don't they? So they don't want to do anything that will upset the majority of the electorate. And so I think it's very important that we do engage them and sit down and discuss with them and let them understand that what is currently on the table isn't what they think it is. I think it's very important.
What is on the table would rather reduce the illegal cultivation of cannabis.
Absolutely.
For recreational.
And you see, the other important thing about that as well is that in beginning the debate about recreational cannabis, what people need to understand as well is that they would have to go through a process which would ensure that cannabis for recreational use would be safe. Because right now, nobody tests the soil. None of the farmers do that. They don't test the soil, so they don't know if there's toxins in the soil. They don't know what the deficiencies are in the soil, but they just cultivate the cannabis.
Right.
And then they sell it. And then you ingest it, however you ingest it. You may be ingesting toxins that could kill you. Well, now what we need to establish to make cannabis safe and help you to regulate it is having dispensaries all over the place. Accra, Takrady, Kumasi, Tamale, Wa, Bolga. We need to have safe places that you can actually go and purchase cannabis that is safe. Cannabis that has been grown in accordance with the regulation that ensures that is 100% safe. This too is something that will root out illegal cultivation. Because if you could come into my dispensary and you've bought something from somewhere else, and I say, oh, where did you buy that? And you say, oh, I bought that in the Volta region. I could say, look, let me test that for you so that you could see how safe it could be. Yeah. Now, if when I test it in front of you, you actually witness the fact that there are toxins in there, you wouldn't buy from those people anymore. You'd rather come in to a safe place, which is a dispensary, and purchase your cannabis for recreational use from me. Because you know what you're getting is 100% clean, it's 100% safe, it's not going to poison you anyway, it's not going to cut your life short. And I think these are the type of discussions that we need to have with the churches, with the parliamentarians, with the other stakeholders that are there, so that they begin to grasp what we are talking about, so that they begin to lose that phobia about the use of cannabis for recreational purposes.
So Nana, how soon do you expect this? Are you exerting pressure? Because if there are 100 farm groups, clearly there is interest there to get the law into fruition, so they can.
Well, look, there are people from companies like Canopy Growth from Canada and various other companies from the USA, Switzerland, Holland. They've been camping here. They've been staying in hotels. They've been in hotels for almost 3 years.
Wow.
Waiting. So it's not just us, but there's huge interest, because you see, if you cultivate in Switzerland and in some parts of the USA and even in Canada, you can only cultivate once or twice a year, because the temperature there, the climate there, isn't the same here. We're sitting very close or on the equator. It's the ultimate in climates for the cultivation of cannabis, the ultimate. So what we have in those other countries, they are using electricity to keep lights on and keep fans going, extractor fans and all this thing. The cost involved to cultivate is humongous, whereas here it's not. So they've all come over with their briefcases full of money to come and give people, can we have a license and what have you. So it's not just us, but the interest here is huge.
As well.
It is very huge, and it is very important that these conversations take on a dimension that people begin to understand that, look, we have lots of children here that are suffering from epilepsy. They're being fed with opioids that cannot help them. When we give these children cannabis oil, it reduces the seizures and eventually bring the seizures to an end. There are people here who have Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and other degenerative diseases. They're trying to recover from stroke, from high blood pressure, and a wide variety of things. And I can tell you as a fact that I've known many of these people who are now taking cannabis oil and they are recovering. People who have had strokes, paralyzed down one arm, are now moving as if they didn't have a problem in the first place. Okay. I have numerous examples. We are dealing with children who have autism, cannot speak. They are now saying 1 and 2 words. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get you.
The power of this plant is absolutely amazing. What it requires is a human understanding. And we need to understand that even without the predicament that we're in terms of our GDP now, that when you release this, we will become a nation that when we talk about sovereignty, we will actually mean sovereignty. When we talk about...
That's taking the narrative from them.
Yes, when we talk about Ghana beyond aid, we will really mean Ghana beyond aid. Because this is something that can lift up our GDP like no other. Let's face it, we are losing on the oil. We are losing on the gold.
Cocoa.
We are losing on the cocoa. Look at the cocoa. Look, I mean, every year, we're going in for loans on cocoa. Why? When we are the second largest producer. We are losing on the gas.
Only to Ivory Coast, right?
We're losing on the bauxite. All our natural resources we are losing on. And it's terrible. I mean, I've got to be perfectly honest with you. There's a syndrome. Anything that the government is involved in that they manage, there's a big problem. There's a loss. There's a deficit. It's not working for our country. And that's why we say that this industry is the people's industry. It's not something that must be taken over by the government. It's something that is for the people and should be run by the people. And the government should tax us. At the moment, in terms of agriculture, when it comes to tax, we're only looking at 3%. Government, you can tax us more than that.
Wow. Yeah. On that note, Nana, I think we will need to have a second, part to this conversation.
We need to have part 2.
Yes, unfortunately, we've run out of time. But I learned a lot. I hope you learned that too, because before I came in, I had no idea. I didn't know, there was a difference between hemp and cannabis and the percentage, the THC level 0.23 is what is allowed, and that, with the cannabis for recreational purpose, you're looking at 5 and over. And its implications and everything. I'm so glad that you explained that to us. But I know we'll have another opportunity to talk about this. And I hope that for those of you at home watched, if you didn't, you can go back and watch a playback of it on our Facebook and Twitter pages and see for yourself. I think I have one last question I want to sneak in. How do you feel, when police go around swooping and arresting people for that?
Well, it's funny you should say that. I mean, I look at their faces and they're smiling as they burn United States dollars. United States dollars that we need. And funnily enough, the irony of it is that those countries that are cultivating and making the money, those are the countries we run to with our cap in hand saying, can you give us a loan, please? But can I say before I go, can I just say that our offices are in East Legon.
Okay.
We're off the Baoleshi Road.
Okay.
It's Hempire House, Hempire Agri Ghana Limited, Hempire House, 8 and Yeti Close, off La Baoleshi Road,
right.
East Legon. You can get me on WhatsApp on 0244 264 221. You can Google Hempire Agri Ghana Limited. We also have our websites up. Just type Hempire Agri Ghana.
Right.
You'll get into our websites. And if you're interested in becoming a ganja farmer, let's put it that way, please do contact us. We'll be happy to take you through the
right process, right?
You know,
Nana,
come and see us.
Nana, thank you. If alcohol and cigarettes can be legal, why not marijuana? I've learned so much on the show. I mean, before we started the show, I had no knowledge that hemp or cannabis or marijuana had different, were different types or meant different things. And that's the industrialization of it meant that you could only harvest one that has a certain quantity of THC, which is a 0.23%. I believe Nana Agyemang would have to come back for us to do a part 2 of it, because a lot of people need more education. I hope you have learned a lot. I learned a lot about it, and like he's saying, Tampi farmer or marijuana farmer, who knows, I might just become a Tampi farmer when the law comes to fruition. My name is Bridgette Otoo. Leave your comments on all our social media platforms, on Twitter or on Facebook. See you next week.